What if our obsession with tidy, controlled gardens is doing more harm than good? What if untrimmed, untamed, wild and messy gardens are actually better for environmental health, for our relationship with nature, than strict gardening? For centuries, gardens have been symbols of beauty, care, and order. But today, as we confront ecological breakdown, biodiversity loss, and climate anxiety, we may need to ask an uncomfortable question. Is control really care? I'm your host Sonia, and this is The Open Page. Today, we are talking about the garden, not as decoration, but as a philosophy. Traditionally, the garden has been imagined as a space of control, a space where nature is shaped, disciplined, and made beautiful. And literature has always understood this. Think about Jane Austen. In her novels, landscaped estates reflect social order and hierarchy. In Mansfield Park, the debates over improving the estate's grounds mirrors debates over moral authority and domination. One character insists on reshaping nature to suit taste and fashion, and we begin to realize something. Control over land often parallels control over people. The garden becomes a quiet symbol of power. This tension between control and wilderness becomes more explicit in later literary traditions. They ask, what if healing begins not through control, but through letting nature return? In the novel The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett, healing begins not in a perfectly maintained garden, but in one that has been abandoned, overgrown, and forgotten. Burnett writes of a space where plants grow as they liked, where life returns because nature is allowed to act on its own terms. And suddenly, the unkempt garden becomes something else. Not neglect, but resilience. Ecological resilience. Now, this tension between control and wilderness becomes even more powerful in later post-colonial and modern traditions. In The God of Small Things, Indian novelist Arundhati Roy describes lush, overflowing landscapes that resist neat boundaries. Vegetation spills, creeps entangle itself with human life, and nature in this novel refuses trimming, just as suppressed historical accounts refuse silence. In Roy's world, the wild garden becomes a metaphor for ecological and social resistance. So you find memory in the cracks. So in Istanbul, Memories and the City, Turkish novelist Orhan Pamuk repeatedly evokes neglected gardens, overgrown courtyards, and decaying landscapes as sites of memory and melancholy. Pamuk's unkempt gardens resist modernization's obsession with polish and order. They remind us that life persists in cracks, in ruins, in unmanaged growth. Nature here does not need perfection, it needs time. And in our own literary traditions, gardens carry memory differently. In Jamila Hashmi's Talashe-Bahara, gardens are not merely static backdrops, they are living archives of cultural memory. Mughal and post-colonial gardens thrive when aligned with natural rhythms. Seasonal growth, water flow, shade, not rigid symmetry, not forced geometry, the garden becomes a lesson. That care does not always mean control. Sometimes it means harmony. Even William Wordsworth repeatedly celebrates nature when it is free from human interference. He suggests something radical, that moral clarity and ecological balance emerge not from the order imposed, but from attentive coexistence. And maybe this is the thread connecting all these texts. Untamed and untrimmed gardens are spaces of resilience, memory, ethical restraint. And here's the most fascinating part. Contemporary environmental science now confirms what literature intuited. Research in urban ecology and conservation biology consistently shows that less managed green spaces support far greater biodiversity. Habitat simplification such as lawns, monoculture plants, excessive pruning has become a major driver of insects and birds' decline. By contrast, untrimmed gardens with native plants act as microhabitats, supporting pollinators, soil organisms, small mammals, even fungi and microbes. Strict gardening, which is constant mowing, chemical fertilizers, exotic plants, all this produces visual neatness but ecological fragility. Unkempt gardens welcome entanglement. They welcome insects, birds, fungi, and microbes. So they remind us that environmental health depends on entanglement, not separation. Untrimmed gardens support coexistence. They allow native plants to grow, insects to thrive, soil to regenerate, and birds to nest. And what we call weeds are often pollinators' lifelines. So what we call mess is often biodiversity in action. Strict gardening reflects an outdated worldview, one that treats nature as decorative and subordinate. But the unkempt garden aligns with what environmental thinkers now call rewilding, restoring ecosystems by stepping back rather than intervening. So an untrimmed garden means resisting the urge to control every blade of grass. It means valuing ecological function over visual perfection. It means recognizing that environmental health requires humility, the willingness to let nature exceed our designs. In a world shaped by the climate crisis, the untamed garden becomes more than a gardening choice. It becomes a philosophy. So, the care does not always mean control, and sometimes the most responsible act is to step aside and let life grow. In a time of environmental crisis, letting a garden grow wild is not negligence. It is an ethical choice, a refusal to dominate, a willingness to share space with other forms of life. Sometimes the most responsible thing we can do for the earth is not to shape it more carefully, but to step back and let it live. Let's rethink what we call beauty. Let's rethink what we call care. The page remains open.